Today I'm going to craft a diorama based on this artwork from Donkey Kong Country 3. First, I hired an artist on Fiverr who sculpted Kiddy and Dixie Kong for me to print. There's a whole video about this. And as with all miniatures, we are going to start with a round of priming first, so a thick black even coat for the Kongs and the fish called Bounty Bass. Since the tires around the boat are also black, I will paint these first. I grabbed a big makeup brush and tried some dry brushing. This looks pretty bad already. Maybe Cranky Kong has some advice? Apparently not. So back to regular painting, I guess. I highlighted the brightest parts of the tires, and then I slapped some dark grey and black paint onto each other and mixed them on the miniature itself to get a nice transition. The last time I had this much fun with black and white was when I was throwing villagers and petting my tiger. I think it looks pretty good, but that's not really hard compared to the dry brush fiasco earlier. Next up, we're going to paint some wood, which comes with a challenge. See, there is no actual texture on the sculpt itself, which would resemble wood and help us painting. So I will have to paint these flat, boring surfaces to resemble wooden planks. Since I'm not very, let's call it, competent at painting, I will focus on painting very thin brown lines, many of them, on top of each other, using the color palette of my favorite enemy. Me. So what do you think? Does this look like wood to you? I think something is still missing, but I can't pinpoint what it is yet. Now let's continue with the metal parts, like the screws on the bottom, the fan and the barrel. While those dry, I went back to our wooden parts and tried to paint some random dark spots and even darkened down whole pieces to make them look different from the others. To brighten the metal parts up again, I used this makeup things. I just dip them into the metal paint, get rid of most of the color and carefully stipple on the metal parts. After that, I edge highlighted everything with a very bright silver color. Let's move on to our favorite Kongs, Kiddy and Dixie Kong. I chose a reddish brown for Dixie Kong and painted all of her fur, and then switched to Kiddy with a different brown. And here we run into the same problem we had with the wood. No texture sculpted. So thin line it is again, but this time a lot more and a lot shorter. I may have gone too bright with Kiddy's fur, so let's switch to Dixie, trying to be a little more subtle here. And that should be enough. With the fur finished, I can now grab a pink color and base coat the mouth and claws of Dixie and Kiddy Kong. Painting with pink is kinda difficult for me. The paint doesn't cover that well, and while I tried to paint as bright as possible, it still turned out a little too dark in the end. Let's continue with the skin. Pretty basic procedure. A simple base coat and a lot of layering of brighter skin tones on top. For his blue shirt, I used the same technique like on the tires before. I covered everything in blue first and put the same color on top, added a very bright blue and mixed them on the miniature itself. Whoops, almost forgot the earring. Now let me get that sweet yellow banana color and apply it onto our own bananas. Some banana brown on top and some brighter yellow parts should make these Kongs very happy. Why not use the same colors on Dixie's hair? Now I need a good spot to put my brush on, goddamn. Some simple lines should do the trick. Now we can paint both eyes white, add green pupils for Dixie and brown ones for Kiddy. Hold our breath and add some black spots. And for the last step, some white reflections to make them look alive. And holy banana, do they look alive! I've almost forgot our little buddy Bounty Bass. I primed him with a red color and then added some brighter red colors before moving on to the white parts, like his eyes, body stripes and fins. Then I finished his eyes and called him done. Alright, so now we finished our little boat with Dixie and Kitty Kong, as well as our little fish Bounty Bass. But something is still missing, right? Remember my last Donkey Kong Country Diorama? I spent hours painting a rare logo with a technique called non-metal metallic, so why not do it again? Just kidding. Hey Diddy, give me that! Man, back in the days, if you saw this logo on your cartridge, you know the was going to be bananas. All these fantastic games they made, like Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3, Donkey Kong 64, GoldenEye, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Diddy Kong Racing, Battletoads, Banjo-Kazooie and so many more. If you had to pick a favorite game, which would it be? Let me know in the comments and maybe I can come up with another diorama dedicated to them. So normally I would use these acrylic sheets to craft a mold for the epoxy pour. But to avoid the unexplainable reoccurring resin failures I tend to have, I ordered a simple silicone mold from Amazon, which also comes with a wooden frame. Nothing's going wrong now, right? To keep our boat floating, I will use these wooden sticks and some putty. Now let's try to arrange our boat first. That looks great. Now some putty to fix all that. Tends to fall down. Okay, another one. And the fish. Let's prepare the resin. We now have an hour to mix and color the resin and pour it into our mold before it starts reacting. I've never used such a huge amount of resin before, so I have a bad feeling about this. That doesn't look too great, to be honest. The white paint seems to dissolve in the resin. I will avoid this paint in the future. Man, the resin is incredibly hot, it smells horribly strong and I can't even touch this. It also seems to have cured instantly. Let's just come back tomorrow. Wow, the paint on the bottom started to peel off the model because it got so hot. I thought I was safe using some deep pour resin, but maybe 1 kilogram was just too much and generated too much heat. Let's start with removing our sticks and all the putty with more putty, and then we can remove the silicone mold. It looks like the bubbles from the bottom didn't even reach the surface and are stuck in the middle of the resin, when it cured instantly. The surface turned out very uneven and the resin has also changed its color. The bottom and all the sides are full of holes too. On the other hand, this does look like a white river ride. Maybe this isn't that bad at all. What do you think? I continued by cutting down all the sharp edges and fixing some damaged paint spots. Then I used some Vallejo water texture and a tiny sponge to create some water effects, especially around the boat, the fish and some bubbles. I used some super glue to put down our rare logo and added a gloss varnish to the cut edges to make them translucent again. I still think we could use some more bubbles and waves, so I mixed some acrylic medium with the snow effect color from Citadel in a 50-50 ratio. I proceeded to slap that mass on the front of the boat and fish. Let me just use Blender to create a little frame for the bottom by adding a cube with our dimensions, a frame and a boolean function to separate the cube from the frame. I dropped the model into the Kitty Q1 Pro FDM printer and after a couple of hours I am greeted with a frame which fits perfectly.
Okay.
Alright, this is it guys. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.